What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 191. We have Jack Coffelt. I nailed it. Huh? I thought I was going to screw it up, but I got it.
Well done. Well done.
Got it. Well, anyway, guys, hey, thank you all for joining us tonight. We're excited to be back. We tried to do a sponsored episode with Reliable on Tuesday. Things didn't work out. We pushed it. So this coming Tuesday, we're going to have Reliable on. We're going to talk about all the things that Reliable has going uh, for them for the next year, new products, talk about products. So get your questions ready if you have questions about what's going on over there at Reliable. And we're excited to have them on. This is our first sponsored show with Reliable. So
Very
it's
cool, man.
I don't know, do they say that is Reliable like the gateway drug to sponsors, or is that someone else, huh?
I hope so for you guys. Absolutely.
I hope so. I mean, I would love it. Our first sponsor was actually a contractor, Vegas Valley Fire. Yeah, so
Well,
um
technically it was Arco,
Eh,
right? You know,
um I
because
think that was before.
no, I mean they were really before we went to NFPA.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up so we know. I have to make a plaque of like our first. Yo, what up, Chad? Dang, Chad's first one in, first one on. We're live. We're on time. We're throwing everybody off. Making some changes to the chat location. Yeah. Was it? That's one of my favorite shirts, the Vegas Valley Fire shirt. That long sleeve red shirt.
I still have it.
and I
still
feel like
have
I know some guys that used to work there a long time ago.
I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of hoodies, guys. So if anybody ever wants to send us some hoodies, we will wear them.
Big fan.
Like an extra large and a large,
Medium.
medium.
Schmedium,
And
please.
I vacillate
Schmedium.
between a medium and a large, so I just kind of go with the medium size.
A hoodie shrinks up. A large hoodie will shrink up, and I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, extra large
Schmedium.
for me, guys. So if you don't mind.
I see Chad's got some new hoodies coming out. I want to see some hoodies, Chad. Kind of a casual opening. Welcome to the Dope and Tape Show. Please hit the like button if you haven't. Please subscribe. I got a big week that starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'm road tripping it to King of Prussia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
Which
Been
is
there.
like a little.
Have an
It's
idea
like
where you're going?
300 miles south, and I'm doing a podcast right before I do the event. I'm gonna be on another podcast, and Buddy's bringing like a production team. I found out, so that's pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. But then we have casino night with it, which is the Schuylkill chapter of AFSA, and I'll probably jet home after that because I have a flight to Phoenix on Saturday. I'm going to STAFTA. So anybody that's in Phoenix, Arizona, I might just be. I called a lot of people, no one wanted to answer, so I might just be rolling right up to your shop and be like, "Yo, what up?"
So, all right. So you're gonna fly from
And then I
Pennsylvania? When do you fly
no.
tomorrow?
I'm flying from Boston. I'm
Boston.
I'm driving to Pennsylvania.
Okay. Yeah. And then you don't stay the night, or you don't come home after?
Driving home.
Sometimes
I
it's better to drive home. So I drove from, so 2 days ago I was in Minnesota and St. Paul, Missouri, whatever you want. Yeah, St. Paul, right?
St. Paul,
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah. After the NFSA chapter meeting, I drove to Fargo, and it was like a 3.5 hour trip, and it was not bad. It
little
was actually kind of
podcast.
nice, not the
Toss on the Dope and Tape Show, and boom,
yeah,
three episodes, and you're there, right? That's what I
that's
do.
right. Learning all the
I'm gonna have
things
to add
about
you
fire
guys to
protection.
my repertoire as I'm flying across the country. A couple of episodes and you land.
Yeah, man.
Best way to do it.
We're on Spotify, so if you don't feel like looking at Brian the whole time, you can just listen in. And we've been pretty up to speed with that because Brian will get pretty upset with me if I don't have it up to speed. We might be slacking by
I
like
tend
20
to make
episodes, but
people feel uncomfortable,
we're up there. Yeah, I
with my
pop them
hints
on.
and
Pop them on
messages.
about like 50 or 60 at a time, and I'll prefer to drive if it's and especially at night and heading through New York. I'll leave early so I can get through New York early, and then I'll be driving at night, so I won't hit traffic. and then I fly from Phoenix to you.
Yeah, quick. What day
Oh,
are you
see, it
coming?
took-
Thursday?
I could like
Next
hear you.
Thursday?
I could hear you processing that.
Yeah.
The gears. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Whatever day you told me to fly in, I'm flying on Thursday. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Early.
Okay,
I
cool.
leave. I leave
Guys,
early.
yeah, Flashpoint event. Jack, you know about the Flashpoint event?
Yeah, you sent me something on that.
Yeah.
Tell the
Let's take
So
a look
people.
that's
time.
our
Just tell the
first
people.
event.
Where is it?
SPP Pump, Friday, November 14th. We're going to start at 9 p.m. 4 hours of
9 a.m.
new classes.
It's gonna start at
And
9 a.m.
it's 2 hours from Blaze Master, 2 hours of General Air. Um, Primo Fire, shout out to them. They're gonna cook some barbecue for us. I really appreciate SPP Pump hosting us. I mean, as you can imagine, we can't really afford a venue. You know, just some two guys talking on a Zoom.
Our
So
homies
they
over at
definitely gave us
SPP
a
Pump.
home. Yeah,
And they
and
got
they've
some
been
cool stuff to
very
show off too,
supportive.
right?
Yeah. And we got some swag we're gonna give away. There's an after party afterwards at Iron Horse Tavern down the street. So I got a little section in there. We're gonna have a good time, have a couple of drinks, and
We're
the
probably
big
gonna end
picture
up.
of this, what I want to accomplish out of this event is not just to get an event and have people come and get some education, but I also want to cultivate a group of men and women, professionals in fire protection, and talk about mentorship and continue education and all the avenues that you have where you're I think a lot of us, a lot of people in fire protection, or contracting in general, get stuck as in this is just a job. They go, they do their work. My background is a fire sprinkler inspector, so I'll go inspect my building. Okay, it's done. All right, I'm gonna go home. But there's more. You can push and push and push and do more and do more and do more. And the great thing about fire protection is that all this education and certifications are super available. I mean, readily available if you wanted it quickly, and they're not expensive.
No, not at all. That's actually what I was doing
No.
down here in Tampa was with Vince teaching a 3-day ITM prep course, right? And it's not that expensive. And, both associations have them, so I don't want to play one side or the other. But lots of training. I couldn't agree with you more. The sponsorship thing is huge and mentorship is much needed. And what's cool is there's old guys like me that absolutely want to pass on our knowledge and pass on our information to you young guns and help you see what we see and the excitement that we see and the fulfillment that we've seen throughout our careers. And I think that's awesome, man. That's a perfect thing. And you're doing what I call kind of leveling up, pushing it up, right? Instead of waiting for some old guy to come say, "Hey, Brian, Bobby, let me take you under my wing," you're saying, "Hey, come to me. I'm looking for
Mhm.
information." And that's we're starving for that in our industry. And I'm excited to hear that you guys are doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
man.
we're hoping that this is a success. I mean, we are understandable that this is the first one, but we've gotten tons of support. Ferguson, Vitalik, Reliable, Breco, Blazeman, pretty much anybody we've asked.
It's true.
Oh,
They,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, we all know as folks have been around for a long time, we have to have the younger generation come in and see what we see and learn what we've learned. We're not getting any younger and things are evolving. I think I love the idea of this podcast. When I started way, way long ago, we didn't have these kinds of things. And so it was, Billy Bob taught you this, that, or the other, and you just kind of went along with it. And now we've got all this technology. You guys are able to do podcasts. There's virtual trainings all over the place. There's online. The YouTube thing is amazing. You can find anything and everything you want on there, and you guys are right on top of all that. So that's outstanding.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's
Gassing
a
us up.
lot
You're
of
gonna
work.
make me blush. And it's basically everything you're saying is we felt the void. We felt that void, and so and I don't have all the info. I don't know everything, but if I could live stream a Zoom and have people on there that have been doing this longer than me that have different experiences, and we can just, I don't know, pester them, so to speak, for an hour, and there it is on YouTube for anybody to watch forever. And
Absolutely.
so,
I think we're going to get into my story here in just a little bit, but It's not that Jack knew anything and everything. It's I knew people, right? I knew the relationships. I knew the folks at General Air and AGF and Potter and Viking and Wayne Automatic and Siemens and those guys. And I just gleaned what I could from those guys and then built the business that I was, fortunate to be able to get started and was able to get involved and saw the excitement being involved in the associations, being involved in the technical committees, going to the events to put your hands on thing and meet people like these, everybody you guys just mentioned and going and meet you guys in DC at AFSA was awesome, right? Just to be able to go up and I was like, hey, you guys are a dope tape show. I'd love to come on and kind of talk about what I'm doing. But I knew who you were because of word of mouth, right? Because you guys are
Yeah.
getting out there and leading the charge on that. That's awesome.
And
So
we
people would
appreciate
tell
you
you to come
approaching us
talk
like
to
that.
us. That's amazing. Wow, that's so many. I mean, people know who we are and watching us and uh pointing people in our direction like you, Jack. It it's incredible. Like it's something that we never even thought of happening, and it's still every single time it's like, what, me? Like, I'm nobody, I'm just a guy that talks on a Zoom, but it's incredible, it's great.
Oh, it's incredible and it's needed and it's the way things are right now, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we're all three in different parts of the country right now, talking on a little camera on a laptop or whatever, and you guys are broadcasting to however many folks out there all across. Anybody around the world can jump onto YouTube and see it and go grab that clip. You're maximizing the resources that you have available. My youngest has a teasing thing that she tells her mama and I, and it's always use your resources. Don't call me and ask me this, that, or the other. Use your resources. And this is a great resource. This is a great platform to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. We have 11 people watching us, which is, might seem small to some people, but there's 11 people out there that are interested in what we're saying. And we're live on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock at night. So,
Yeah, it
we
is.
got, I
I didn't
see,
realize it was going to be 9 o'clock at night. I'm
yeah,
normally asleep at this time.
yeah.
I'm an old
Well,
man.
we appreciate you waiting up for us. We have Chad, Tommy, Andrew. We got Jacob. We got Russ. What up, Russ?
Which Russ we got?
That's Russ Bryant in there. It's
That's our boy.
the guy who made
Went to art show with
the
us.
picture of me. He put me on a
Oh,
shirt, and
sweet.
I walk around with wearing me. It's pretty cool. What's up,
He
Russ?
hasn't done that for me yet. We can definitely see who the favorite is. Huh?
Oh, we were talking about it pre-show. There's this little,
It's this, dude.
thing that's going on. It's very
It's
distinctive.
this.
It
I mean,
is.
you
Boom.
got the
That
big
is
muscles,
his
Brian. I mean, you got the big muscles, so they might have to make a big muscle shirt for you, but
maybe
That's
one day.
it. I think there's something in the works. There
Yeah.
might be something in the works for you, Bry. 1
Good.
p.m. in
Good.
Australia. Oh yeah, that's right. The Aussies. We got us on the job site, right? You got us on like the boombox on the job site. I remember that. And in Australia, they get to wear shorts and
No
boots. It's
way.
just
Really? Shorts in the new construction job?
yeah, hemp and soap to seal their threads. They'll have shorts
Yeah.
on,
With steel toe
and
boots.
they got dope and tape on live on the
that's
job
awesome.
site, dude.
That's
I want to go out
there's
there.
no OSHA in Aussie, right?
We got
Yeah.
JND.
That'd
I
be
don't
my
know.
better half, probably.
Yeah, give good interview, Jack.
No pressure.
Awesome. So everybody, thank you for joining us. It's the Dope and Tape Show. Hit the like button if you haven't yet. We're live with Jack, and we want to, we start off with basically how did you get into the industry? How did you find it? How did you hear about it? How were you introduced?
Man, that's a great question, and honestly, I kind of love telling this part of the story. Um, my lineage and my family is Navy, right? And so both my grandfathers were in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy, and I knew early on that that was probably going to be the direction that I went, and I did. I graduated at like 17. I actually went to boot camp and went to like the first 2 months of my A school before I even turned 18. But when I went into the Navy, my thought process was, yeah, I'm going to go do 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it's going to be. But I want to come out with some type of skill set that is going to work, right? That I can do something after the fact. Because at 17, I could have retired at 37. And so I qualified for a few different things. And there was this role called an interior communication electrician. And with the ICE role, we took care of fire alarm systems, fire protection systems, security systems, access control systems, TV systems, communication within the skin of the ship, navigation systems, a lot of low voltage stuff. And while I was I did 10 years in the Navy, and I was on an aircraft carrier, the USS Carl
Thank you for
Vinson,
your
CVN
service.
70, the Golden Eagle or Eagle, up in Bremerton, Washington. And then from there, I went to the USS Port Royal. What was cool about that was the Port Royal was CG 73, the last of the Aegis Ticonderoga class cruisers. And I got to be part of the pre-com. So I actually, when I showed up in Mississippi, the ship was in three parts and we put it together over time. And I got to watch all the systems that I'd be working on and kind of participate in building that ship, putting it together, commissioning it, and then selling it around. But on the aircraft carrier and the guided missile cruiser, I worked on halon systems. I worked on CO2 systems. I worked on all the alarm stuff. And so when I got out of the service in the late 90s, I fell right into a fire protection role in the city of Carrollton, Texas, and then I've kind of run with it ever since. So I really have been doing fire life safety for 35 years. And it all started
Whoa,
in the Navy.
that's
It's a
awesome,
long
man.
time.
And so if something you're out sailing and something goes wrong, that's a whole different kind of service call, right? Like
Yeah, you you
you
you you got to figure out a way to get it
you
fixed
could
and fixed quick.
Yeah, you
And
better.
yeah, because
shit.
when a ship goes down, out underway, and I've got a great example. And it wasn't really a fire protection system, but when I was on what was called a Westpac, we were in the middle of the Persian Gulf, and we were I want to say we were at the Nimitz battle group, and the ship that I was on, we had the Aegis radar system, right? And the Aegis radar system is one of the coolest things in the military. It can basically tell you a basketball's bouncing, 500 miles away. It's just intense. And part of that is when you have helos that need to be able to land on your flight deck to be able to get pieces, parts, whatever, transferred off to other vessels that are in the crew. Ours went down, and I usually work night shifts when I was in the Navy, out to sea, because then I didn't have to deal with people, which was awesome. Um, and so our glide slope went down. Our two other technicians in my role kind of worked on it. They couldn't get it figured out. When it's time for me to wake up, they're like, "Hey man, can you figure this out?" So I went in, figured it out. We got a part flown over from the aircraft carrier, got it
Yeah.
back in. I got it installed, brought it back up, and the entire battle group was able to get back on track and on mission to do what we needed to do because we had to shut down everything because the glide slope wouldn't work. And those happen on a daily basis. And I just happened to be in the right spot at the right time to get that worked out. But
Wow.
yeah, you have to be fairly good at what you're doing and paying attention to detail, following the steps. And the military and the Navy specifically had great schooling for all that stuff. My first school, I spent nearly a year in ICA school, Interior Communications A school, and they went through basic electronics all the way through these other things. And that was what was really helped set the stage to be able to troubleshoot, identify, and then move on into the civilian sector.
That's awesome. What up, Vince? Vince says he just left you in Florida. He's got to support my boy.
He landed.
That's
And
it.
Vince, I'm feeling better, buddy. My lungs are clear now. I took a nap.
Yeah.
What's up,
You had some
Florencio?
cold, not feeling great.
Yeah, so you guys talked to Vince as well, and I was saying earlier in the pre-show, Vince and I were actually on the same type of ships, and he was stationed in Pearl Harbor, 92 to 93, and I got there from 94 to 95. He left the island as we showed up. It was kind of cool.
But same training, same
Not
ship.
necessarily. So Vince had a really cool role in that he played with missile systems. I did some security stuff for the missile systems, but Vince was actually, down in the deal, and he could push the button if need be. Other fun stuff.
Dang, Vince. And so Chad, everybody knows Chad, Red Collar Retro on Instagram. If you don't, he says thank you for your service. He spent a lot of time working on the CVN 68 USS Nimitz.
I have been to sea on the Nimitz.
That,
That was my first time to go to sea. I was on the Carl Vinson up in Bremerton, Washington, and believe it or not, we were in an overhaul situation. So imagine, if you will, an aircraft carrier up on blocks, like somebody was in LA trying to steal its rims. And we were up on blocks, and it was the start of the Persian Gulf War. And so they took a bunch of us sailors from the Carl Vinson because we weren't going anywhere for a couple of years, sent us out to sea with the Nimitz to get our sea legs ready and see kind of what real life was out there. And I had one of the best adventures of my life on the Nimitz, heading down into San Francisco for Fleet Week. Can't tell too many stories about that, but it was a good time.
those are the best stories, the ones we can.
Yeah,
Sort of. I did the basic electricity and electronics. That's from Vince. Yeah, don't downplay it, Vince. He told us.
yeah, no, he's a stud, man. He had a really cool role, no doubt.
Okay, so now you're essentially, I don't know, what do we call it, off the boat? You're off the boat now and you're ready to just
So I become a civilian, right? And well, let me just quickly back up for a second. So I did my A school, I did my first ship, I did the second ship, and then when I took orders to the second ship, the Port Royal, I had originally taken those orders to go and be stationed in San Diego because I was going to get out. And actually, I was really thinking I was going to go get into the TV field because I did a 6 month C school, which is a secondary school. It's a very focused school for 6 months in Chicago and Great Lakes for CCTV. So I actually got certified to be able to work on television systems, or television distribution, all the other stuff. And there were some gigs in San Diego that I thought I might be able to jump into. Well, lo and behold, they decided to take the Port Royal instead of go to San Diego. We go to Pearl Harbor, and which was awesome. I enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed it far more than I did because I wasn't really there that often. Um, and so when you're stuck in Hawaii back in the 90s, we didn't have FaceTime and Zoom and Google Meets and all that. So flying back and forth to get jobs wasn't really an easy thing. So I re-enlisted and I extended to go home to New Mexico to be a recruiter. And so I was recruiting and ended up not advancing the way I wanted to. And so we made the decision at the 10-year mark to go ahead and get out. Wife gets accepted to grad school in Texas. We move to Texas, and I go to work for the city of Carrollton in their radio shop. And the reason they hired me was my alarm background. So they managed all the fire alarm stuff for the city, and then that's kind of how I got into the civilian side of fire alarm was going to Carrollton, Texas, and going to working on their systems and all their little city buildings, and took off from there.
wow. Yeah, so Chad says he was Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. He was in Shop 71, Bremerton, Washington.
That's where I was, Puget Sound, baby. I spent the first
Puget Sound.
2.5 years of my career up there.
Wow.
Man, and I just went back through there for my daughter's wedding May of last year, and it was crazy to go back and see it, as a 30-year older man instead of the punk kid I was back then. Didn't appreciate anything.
So you're recruiting for the Navy,
Yes, sir.
and then
So then we decide to get out. Wife gets accepted to school in Texas. We pick our two kids up, go to Texas. I start working for the city, taking care of their fire alarm systems, getting involved in their radio systems, which kind of plays a great role later in my career when this whole Xerxes DAS thing came out. I'd actually the city of Carrollton had sent me to Motorola's 800 megahertz school in Motorola in Schaumburg, Illinois. And so I got certified on that stuff. So the interesting story. I don't even know if you guys were alive then, but from 99 to 2000, we had that whole crazy issue of is the world going to stop because the ones and zeros don't work? Most of the world was out partying and having a great time. My happy backside was stuck in a little radio tower waiting to see if the radios would still work for emergency communications, and while we saw everybody else partying and whatnot. But
oh, so you
fortunately, that
really,
didn't happen.
so they really didn't know what was going to happen.
No, they had no clue. Yeah, they had absolutely no clue. And we started to figure it out because, time changed, we're on the UK and whatnot, and things weren't happening there. But we had already had everything scheduled. And a lot of fire service and a lot of emergency services were in the same boat because nobody was sure, are the 911 systems going to stay up? Are the radios going to stay up? Computer crashes? Are we going to drop planes out of the sky? There was all kinds of worries and
Mhm.
fears, all
Wow.
unfounded, but not, it was an unknown. And so we dealt with that. So at that time frame, I'm working for Carrollton. New Year's Eve, instead of partying, like it was 1999, I sat in a radio tower.
I was 10 years old. I was in Vermont.
Nice.
We were hunkered down. I don't know. I think we thought something was going to happen.
And then so, I'm working for Carrollton and I met a guy, um, Greg Martin, he was subcontracting a lot of the fire alarm work, and we kind of hit it off. And I figured out pretty quickly this government work wasn't going to be my thing, and so I ended up going to work for Greg, and I became a licensed fire alarm technician in Texas. I got my FAL early on. I think it was 2001 or something like that, and I started working on fire alarm systems throughout the greater Dallas area. We did some work in Houston and other places. And then at that time, we Greg was only doing access control and fire alarm. And we worked with another company called SFS Security Fire Systems, who was our sprinkler counterpart. And I started becoming friends with those guys, and they wanted somebody to come in and take over their alarm division. And so I moved over from working with Greg over to Security Fire System, took over their alarm division. Man, it was a mess, and I was able to get it back profitable, and even making money almost less than a year, which was a huge issue because they were getting ready to shut it down. And then as we grew that, Dr. Death Steve Williams, one of my all-time favorite human beings on the planet, took me under his wing and started taking me out on sprinkler inspections with him. I'd go do the alarm side, he'd do the sprinkler, and he started cross-training me on, okay, this is what you look for here, this is what you look for here. So remember, this is in the early 2000s. NFPA 25 had been around a little bit, but it wasn't really enforced a lot in a lot of areas. And so I learned the sprinkler trade from there. And then let me see, where'd I go from there? Oh, from there, I went to Honeywell, and I did. You guys ever fly into Dallas Fort Worth into the
Yeah.
international terminal, Terminal
Yep.
D, that
Yeah.
big
Um,
monstrosity?
Yeah.
So I went to that facility and spent 2.5 years there as the field superintendent for all the third-party integration. So I worked for Honeywell, and I was responsible for making sure that all the interconnections from the sprinkler system, from the elevators, from the PA system, from the smoke control, all that stuff filtered into the fire alarm system, and everything worked. And what was kind of cool about that, I don't want to say kind of, it was really cool. That place was 2.3 million square feet. There were 34 network connected fire alarm control panels with over 12,000 points each. All right. So, I mean, this thing is massive. It's actually 16 stories tall. There's sensors in the dirt underneath that thing that I've been to 3 times at least. And we got that thing up and running under budget, under time, and it was a huge win. And that really is what helped me um, solidify my fire alarm and sprinkler knowledge. I had an inspector there, one of the HJs on the airport was giving me the business that I wasn't NICE certified. So how did I know anything? I'm like, I'll tell you, dude. So that's how I got my impetus to go get my NICE certifications. And I kid you not, when I got my level 3, I went and printed a copy and I put it on his desk. And unfortunately, he wasn't there because I was gonna have a good conversation with him. But he
good for
called me
you.
later. I was
Good
like,
for
I
you.
told you I get it. I told
Yeah,
you I get it.
that sounds like a beast of a fire alarm system, and I wouldn't want to be chasing a ground fault in there.
Oh, dude, and this entire system, everything on it is class A, meaning that you have loops all the way around, right? From the CI circuits, going from panel to panel, all the notification circuits, all of the initiation circuits, any of the auxiliary equipment, and it was all in conduit. And so, I mean, this thing was massive, and
Yeah.
we were able to get it in. It was really cool. And then from
Damn,
there,
the
yeah, it
fire
was.
alarm guys eat your heart out. We don't really talk about we don't hit
I
all that
think
fire
fire alarm
alarm
guys are fun.
lingo. Well, I mean, we got Chad here, so Chad's a fire alarm guy. I'm convinced he loves it.
Yeah, well, Vince is as well, right? Don't let Vince be shy on
Chad,
you. He's pretty
Chad's like,
sharp.
what? No.
And then so from there, I actually went to Chematron, and I spent a year and a half running around the country doing special hazard systems. That was pretty neat. I had some crazy stories of, working in minus 27 weather in Iowa outside at a gas plant trying to certify this thing. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna pass on that. They tried to send me to Puerto Rico during a hurricane. I was like, yeah, no, pass. That was pretty crazy. And then I went to work for the big giant Simplex Grinnell for a couple years. That was challenging. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm not gonna talk too much about that. Um,
Understood.
yeah. And then, believe it or not, I actually took a step back at that time to kind of reassess, was fire really what I wanted to do? This is like 2007, 2008. And you mentioned something, Iron Horse something earlier. During that time away, I actually went and sold Iron Horse choppers in Fort Worth, Texas, for like a year and a half, 2 years. So I was selling all the custom choppers. This was back when OCC was a big thing, and you had Big Mike's choppers and Detroit Cycles, and
Did you
uh,
have one?
I had a Harley. I had a dyno loader. I couldn't afford the big dollar stuff at that point, and I was still not at a good.
Still
Plus, all
ripping
my
Is
money was
around.
going to
choppers
my
still a
girl.
big thing, or that kind of died off a little bit
It's died off quite a bit. I mean, at the
after the
peak, those
TVV
things were
shows?
selling for hundreds, $150,000, right? A Bourget. We actually had Roger Bourget's personal bike that he built in our showroom floor in Fort Worth. That thing was 11 and a half feet long and the seat height was 13 inches. He had
11 and a
two,
half feet long?
uh-huh. And then
What?
he had twin
What?
turbos with dual nitrous built into the tank. It was sick. It was an absolutely sick bike. We listed it for 120, 128K. We didn't sell it while I was there,
Whew.
but yeah, so
That's like that sounds like it's very hard to drive.
yeah, you should have seen us trying to move it in and out. It was about a 3 inch rotation and then burr, 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 burr. So we
So
just set it and forget it, right?
you did that just
You're
for drag
sitting on
racing?
you're
Yeah.
sitting on the pavement, eh?
Yeah, you are, but your handles, I mean, the handles were down
Can a
low.
short guy even reach the controls?
Great question. So I'm 5'6", and on that, I could absolutely reach it. It was
Oh
just,
my
it's low and
goodness.
slow. And what Roger Bourget is known for is speed. He loves to go fast, right? And Bourget's bikes, they're all custom built. They used to be all custom built in a shop in Phoenix. Everything he built except for the motors. He did the frames, he did the seats, he did the controls, he did everything. And they were sick. He was the first guy and really only guy to use the frame of the bike as the oil container. And what that also did was it cooled as you're driving that thing, it kept the oil cool so your motor ran less hot. But he also had the biggest motors in there. But it was slow and low, so you have less drag, so you can fly. Basically, was what he wanted to do.
Whew.
You weren't turning much. You were trying to go straight line, but it was
Yeah,
sick.
leaning.
And then in about
The
it was
wife said. The wife says, "What about Siemens?"
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And
Yeah.
so actually just quickly on that route there. So you said you're in North Dakota right now. I need to hit North, South Dakota, and Vermont to have all 48 states. I was scheduled to go working for Iron Horse to Sturgis, all expenses paid. I was going to go rep the vendor booth, right? For the entire time. My buddy calls me that I work for at Honeywell and says, "Hey, I'm over at Siemens in their national accounts group. I built the job for you. Will you come work for me?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of need some good insurance and a steady paycheck instead of doing sales.
Right.
That might be nice." And so I went over to Siemens in 2008 in their national accounts group, and they really brought me in because I had that an alarm background, which they didn't really necessarily need. Siemens is known for their alarm business. They had a smaller suppression business, but they didn't really have a sprinkler business. And since I had been in that industry, with security fire systems and did what I did at Terminal D, they kind of built this role for me. So I went over there, spent about 4 or 5 years on the national accounts team, and I was asked to build Siemens sprinkler business. And I was like, no. And then they asked me two more times, and I said no. And because I didn't have the confidence, I was like, man, I know sprinkler a little bit,. But I don't know how to build a business. I don't. And finally, the guy called me and he's like, hey, here's the deal. We've already transferred you. So either you're going to build it or you go find a new job. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to learn how to build businesses.
Yeah.
And that was 2012. And so over the course of the next 7 years, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of different people in the organization. And this is really kind of what I was talking about, getting involved in associations. This is how I built Siemens Sprinkler business. I didn't know squat from Shinola, right? I knew a little bit, right? I'm not gonna say I didn't, but I had the opportunity. I interviewed AFSA, I interviewed NFSA. Siemens was a big union player, so I ended up going the union route with NFSA, which was a great decision at the time, and I still really appreciate that. I'm still heavily involved with the NFSA, but I got to go in and I got to get on their ITM committee real quick. I got to get on their ENS committee. Worked with all those guys, worked with all the manufacturers. And I would sit in these meetings. We would have the engineering standards committee meetings. We'd have the ITM meetings 3 and 4 times a year. And I'd sit next to Carrie Bell, or I'd sit next to, Wes Baker, or I'd sit next to, Sean from from Potter, and just glean information. I'd pick James Lewis brains from American Fire Systems just constantly and would take that information. And then I'd go. And so I basically took Siemens. We had like 6 offices that were doing maybe $3 to $5 million a year in business with no procedures, no processes. And when I left in 2019, I had 45 or 48 offices in the US and Canada, about 500 sprinkler inspectors and fitters, about 200 sales folks, and we were doing 55 mil plus. And then
Woo.
I'm super proud to say, I built a lot of the foundation of that. I built a sales program for that. I built, the tooling. I built the inspection module. That's how I kind of got into the software side. Was Siemens had this program called TAP Plus that they did all their fire alarm inspections, and I built out the fire sprinkler module, including the fire pump. That's a pain in the tuchus, I'm not going to lie, but we got it done. and then rolled all that stuff out. And it was by word of mouth. It was me traveling to all the branches, in the States and Canada, trying to help them understand how sprinkler could benefit them, how the sprinkler service and inspection business would be a huge benefit for them. And I'm not trying to break my arm over my back. That's not what this is about. But I will say I was very proud to win a couple of awards during that time frame. I had the fastest growing, most profitable business in North America 2 years running, from all the Siemens sprinkler growth. And then I'm super proud to say that when I talk to my buddies that are still there, they're well over $300 million a year on that
Wow.
program that I started in 2012. And
Let's
so,
go. Yeah, man. Pat yourself on the back. That's big. That's huge.
That's big.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Making waves,
Congratulations. Yeah,
especially
on
if they've created something and then they're still using it when you're gone. That's great to hear.
Yeah, it was awesome. From there, I went to Potter for a year. That was a great year, getting to work with Sean and Jason Webb, and seeing the Potter thing. Unfortunately, as we all know right now, the venture capital PE world is just crazy, right? And so I was brought in to build a business development project, a program for them, and the PE firm that owned Potter at that time was getting ready to flip, and so they started cutting costs. The new guy that was in, that was not really a profit center, I got cut. And then unfortunately we hit the COVID thing, and that was a bit hard. That was a bit rough. I kind of sat out on the sidelines for almost a year because of COVID. And because people weren't hiring guys I won't say at my level, but like at my pay grade, maybe. And because there was so much uncertainty, we didn't know, travel was restricted. And, you know, while what I do is very service based, there was a lot of buildings getting shut down and people weren't going, and we weren't sure if we were going to still go inspect and all that. And so I kind of sat on the sidelines for a little while. And I'm sure you guys have heard of Top Myers. He's kind of a legend, Golden Sprinkler Award winner, Hall of Famer. He owned
Yep.
this little company called Asurio, which is a software inspection company, that covered the gamut of fire life safety. And I had met Top probably 12 years beforehand, and he asked me if I'd come help him, with his software program. And basically, Top really saved me because I was going crazy, and my wife was like, "Dude, you need to get a job." And so Top got me, and I got into the software space. And I spent the next 4.5, 5 years on software. We got bought out by Service Trade, and I spent a couple years with Service Trade, and then I just really had. Uh, I'm a sprinkler guy. I'm a fire guy. I mean, you can see my background, right? That's fire. I thought about putting my sprinkler head on there. My daughter put these awesome backgrounds for me. I've got one
Yeah.
that's sprinkler. I got one that's fire alarm. I got one that's the software. But that's really where my passion is, right? And so I got back into the contracting side of things. And I was having a good time, and I kind of just stopped and thought, you know what? I don't know that there's a lot of people out there that really have the knowledge base and the experience and the mentors. Back to your comment, Brian, about the mentors, uh, to talk about fire protection from a liability perspective. Like, how many of your guests in the past have come on and maybe they've talked about getting sued for this, that, or the other? Lawsuits are massive in our industry, right? And a lot of times, sprinkler contractors specifically, they've done nothing wrong. They're doing the right things, but they just might not have the right wording on their contract, or they might not have the right scope of work, or they might be putting things on their inspection reports that if something goes wrong, they've just opened themselves up to be responsible for that entire book, right? And so my thought process in my time on the software side, and I spent a couple of months at VSC, great organization, just didn't end up working out, which is fine, kind of set me on this path for CFC Fire Consulting to go out there and help fire protection contractors do what they do, continue doing what they do, but do it in a way that protects their brand, their shield. Because all we want to make sure that our customers' needs are met to the best of our ability. We want to do the right thing, but in today's society, it's so litigious out there that we've got to do it in such a way that we give the customer what they want, if it's reasonable, right? But protect ourselves, because when that sprinkler system gets hit by a tractor at 2 o'clock in the morning and something gets flooded, or the hotel like I'm in the fifth floor and somebody hangs a hanger on that sprinkler head and it pops, they're going to sue us, right? And the
Right.
inspection contractor had nothing to do with that. And so if you set things up in a certain way, in a proper way, then you're going to be much more protected. And so many contractors out there are just blowing and going, and they're doing awesome work. They just don't think about that side of the business. And that's really what I'm trying to do with CFC, is help them continue to do that, but let me help you look at your contracts. Let me help you look at your scopes of work. Let me make sure that we're taking a look at your inspection documentation and you're not asking questions that are outside the scope of the document. Or if you are, let's put them on a different kind of report so that you're being a great steward for your company and for your contractor, but you're not putting yourself a target. And so that's really what I'm trying to do there, as well as like this week I'm here in Tampa. I was shadowing the great and powerful Vince Powers as he taught the 3-day course down here. I have a huge passion for teaching, for coaching. When I was telling you guys about my Navy days, being a recruiter, the greatest part of my life outside of my family was when I coached my high school wrestling team. Those boys and girls that I had were awesome. And I was never happier. I didn't get paid a dime in 5 years of coaching, but I never missed a match. I never missed a tournament. I had kids placed in state all the time. Most fulfillment I've ever had, except for when I get to go teach fire protection, fire life safety. And like today, we were talking, Vince and I were kind of teaching the class and we're going over questions. And I had a young kid in the back. He's probably 21 years old. And we had talked about a question and I saw his light bulb go off and his face lit up and he's like, I got it. Those are the moments that Vince and I live for, to be able to see, hey, this is what we're teaching you and this is what it is. And the get it moments. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And then as well as, if your listeners or folks that watch this down the road, if they're not sure about what software to look at, because there's some great software products out there, right? But they do things a little bit differently. They have they do this a little bit better than that over there. Ask me some questions and let me help give you some guidance on where that is. I've been part of 3 different software building processes. So I have a little bit of knowledge there as well, and they've been pretty successful. And so those are kind of what CFC is all about is, so I'm coming at this from the position of I've done all the things I'm going to talk with contractors about, right? I've done all the inspections, I've done the service work, I've done the install piece, I've had to fend off insurance claims and things like that, and have been part of building some very successful businesses. And I'd like to see our industry continue to have a very positive face, and do things in a great way, but just stop getting sued. Or if they do get sued, they can whip out this piece of paper and says, "Hey, Mr. Customer," or Mr. Lawyer, most of the time, they sign this. This is my get out of jail free card. So let's work on that.
Boom. You're doing a great
So,
service.
Thank
yeah,
you.
no, it's needed, but how would a company know that they actually need you?
That's kind of why I wanted to come on y'all's show and talk about it. A lot of them, and I know that a lot of them need it from my time in the software side of talking to contractors and seeing what their inspection reports look like when they'll send me, when I was at Asurio and Service Trade, and they would send me what they were currently using, and I'd be like, oh my God, you have no idea what you're doing here. I saw some 25 inspections that were literally one pagers, a full NFPA 25 inspection for an annual and quarterly. What is that? No code references, things like that. And then when you talk to their sales organizations and they're sending out quotes that say as per NFPA 25, what does that mean? Right? If I say as per 25, in the 2023 edition of NFPA 25, there are 82 pages in that document that are actionable, right? That you can use, right? From chapter 1 to chapter 16, 82 pages. So that means that every single thing, every daily, weekly, monthly, semi-annual, quarterly, semi-annual, 3-year, 5-year, you're responsible for all that if you say the wrong thing, right? And so um, that's what I'm trying to promote. That's why I'll be at a lot of these industry association shows and getting out on shows like yours and putting my information out on LinkedIn and word of mouth. I'm just getting started. I opened my doors October 1. I've got a couple software companies under contract. I've got a couple of fire protection contractors I'm getting started with. And once I get a couple of, positive motion with those guys, I'm hoping the word of mouth will spread. But really, for any of the folks that look at this, ask yourselves, have I been sued? Or when will I be sued? And if I am I protected? And that's kind of what I have an expertise in, is being able to look at those contracts and look at the scopes, because I've seen so many of them. And it's just a few little tweaks here and there to really protect yourselves. And it's not because they're not trying to do the best work possible. They're not. Most of our friends in the industry, manufacturers and contractors, they all want to do the right thing. They all want to save lives. They want to protect facilities. They want to make sure that we all get home. Um, but reality is, we live in this litigious world, and people make money from fine line words, right? Words matter, as Vince likes to say. And so that's where I'll kind of come in and help you make sure your words are correct and they protect you.
They do matter. Where did you grow up?
Great question, man. So I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico. I do glow in the dark. That's why this fire thing is kind of glowing on me. You guys may, and people listening might know of Los Alamos, New Mexico. They saw that movie with Oppenheimer. That's a real place. That's a real thing. My entire family worked at the lab. My wife worked at the lab. My father worked at that. Father-in-law. My wife's grandfather was my grandfather's boss at the lab, and it was pretty unique. But I grew up on the hill. It was a very unique place. More PhDs per capita in Los Alamos than anywhere in the world, and there's a lot of brainiacs. I just didn't get any of that,
Wow.
extra.
Well, I asked because you talk fast, but you talk well.
Oh,
You
thanks. Thanks.
very fast, but I can hear every word.
Oh,
So
cool. That's like one of the best compliments I think I've ever gotten. I
yeah,
didn't realize I talked fast.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were gonna tell me like New York or a fast talking place or something.
I'll slow down.
No, no, keep
Maybe.
it going.
No,
It's
no,
good.
no,
It's good, man.
no,
It's
it's
good.
okay.
You're doing
I
you're doing
talk
a great
slower
job.
for all of us, so
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Yeah.
No, but
no, it's
what's
working
interesting
for
though
us.
is I have traveled the entire US, right? And so going back to like building the Siemens thing, one of the first things I had to do was identify what all the licensing requirements were in all the areas that we operated, which was basically all 50 states. And it was so interesting to struggle to find it. It took me a year and a half to build out my complete list. And the reality is I still never finished because I couldn't figure out what the rules were. I couldn't get any documentation for the rules on the island in New York and DC. Nobody can tell you what those are. They're somewhere out there, but nobody can really tell you. But it was a really neat thing. And so I have the experience of having traveled not only the world, but the entire US. And I like to think I don't have an accent, um, but maybe I do.
No, I
No,
mean,
I don't
pretty
think so.
good. Pretty.
That's why I couldn't tell where you were from.
Not bad, not
It's
bad.
well versed. It's well versed. So, and what couldn't you find out about New York?
So, well, as far as I know, still, there's no licensing requirement in the state of New York. They've been battling that forever. But on the island of Manhattan, there are five companies that have sprinkler licenses, right? Those five companies, nobody can figure out how they got the licenses, and there's no like I called the fire departments. I tried to schedule interview meetings to go up there and meet. Nobody would meet with me. There's nothing documented that I could find to identify how to get a license to do business on that island. Same thing goes for DC. You just couldn't find it. There's word of mouth of you need a NICET level 3 layout and design for DC to get a contractor's license, but they don't really know whether you need a NICET level 2 ITM or XYZ to do work in DC. For the rest of the country, I can pretty much, spit out in Georgia, you need a NICET level 3 layout and design to get your contract, but they used to be NICET level 3 for ITM, but they finally dropped it down to level 2 to be reasonable. There's a lot of states that don't require any licensing in Mississippi. Anybody can walk into Mississippi right now and say, "Hey, I'm a sprinkler contractor," and they are. It's a little bit crazy to me.
Whoa.
California, you've
And
got
they
that
are.
wonderful C16 license. One person in a company of 1,000 people has one license, and they can do anything and everything they want in California. It's just crazy to me. But
That's a tough test, though, right?
yeah, that C16 test is no joke.
And that's
Yeah,
similar. That is, Massachusetts has something similar to that, don't they?
yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Contractor's license. You gotta get up.
Yeah, yeah. There was like a level 2 contractor, I think, up there, something like that. Yeah, but it was interesting. So no,
Yeah.
I've had the good fortune of traveling a good portion of the country of seeing fire protection contractors and AHJs and customers, all across there. And I truly love our industry. I love what we do. I believe in what we do. And one of the things that I like to tell people is that in my time in the field, I always did things the right way. And I did that because I don't know, I call it integrity, I guess. But at the end of the day, I want to know and be able to go to sleep that if I touch something, it's going to work when it's called upon. Because reality is we don't want our stuff to work. We don't ever want it to actually have to, I don't want a sprinkler head to go off. I don't want a fire alarm system to go off. because that means that there's an event that's happened that could endanger, people, lives, property, etc. But if it does happen, it damn well better work, because if it doesn't, this big fire that we got going on, a couple months ago that killed 10 people, that just makes my stomach turn, hearing some of the things. And I can't speak to exactly what's going on there, but it sounds like there's some things that could have been done a little bit differently that very well could have saved some lives. And
Mm.
so knock on wood, nothing I ever touched didn't work when it was called upon to do what it needed to do. And I pride myself on that, to be able to say I did it the right way. Did I lose money from time to time? Absolutely. But did I do the right thing? I never resisted out something, or I never, whatever the case was. But if you go in understanding that truly, we save lives, right? And I have a tremendous amount of friends in the fire service, and they used to give me the business all the time. You're taking all the fun out of my work. I used to be able to go into fires and fight fires, and it was cool. But now your sprinkler system's putting it out. And I'm like, yeah, but did you get to go home and kiss your wife and kids? Shut up. Go have your
Hmm.
whiskey. Go have your cigar. Shut up. You're here. But we do what we do because we love it, and it matters, right?
Saving lives. Saving
Absolutely.
lives. All right, so we got some comments. The wife's still gassing you up.
Oh man.
And we got Tommy Howard saying he is correct. New York State does not have a requirement for sprinklers. Some municipalities, however, require some form of licensing, and we have plumbers in my area of upstate New York that perform the inspections and service work. Not well, but they do it. That's what I heard
Yep.
a lot. It's a lot of plumbers will almost build the whole system, and then the sprinkler guy can come in at the end and twist the heads in,
It's
type
crazy.
deal.
So one of the banes of our existence in fire protection are backflows, right? Backflows are an insanity, because backflows can be owned by a water purveyor, by a city, by a third party provider, by the fire department, by the civil engineering, and nobody does anything the same way. They all want their pink polka dots or green, chevrons on their inspection reports, and they want it in this format. And so that's why backflow preventers are such a hard thing. And that keyed me because of the plumbing comment. State of Illinois, only licensed plumbers can work on any backflow in the entire state, period. Doesn't matter if you've been a lifelong fire protection contractor and could rip up an RPZ in your sleep. Unless you have that plumbing license, you can't do it. It's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, we talk about that a lot of how there's no just it's different. You could go to a county, you could go to a state, and like uh,
Yeah, so in my time in at SFS, in Security Fire Systems in Capel, in our design office, we had 34 different books on our design shelf. And of that, I recall we had like 32 different backflow forms. And there was different fees here, different fees there, different. You had to get this fire marshal to go with you, and this one wouldn't, or it was insane. That was just Dallas Fort Worth, and it spreads across the entire country like that. And then you get places like Colorado that are open or home rule states, and they have a state fire code, but it's not enforceable because each little fiefdom can do what they want. And then so Boulder, they hire this water purveyor, but Denver hires this other one, and they all have their own little portals and they want their form. It's a pain in the tuchus for the contractors. I wish I could tell you there was a way to fix that. And in that realm, that very specific realm, there's just not. You just have to deal with that pain. But one of the things I am getting involved with as well is the third party reporting stuff. The Bricers, the iRolls, the LibSafes. I'm working with a couple of those folks, and I've worked with some while I was at Service Trade, and I know Inspect Point and Uptick, and I think Service Trade has theirs working now as well. But the integration to be able to hit the easier button instead of having to manually key in all that stuff. Third party reporting when it first came out, I was massively against it. Not gonna lie, I didn't like it. There's and it still has some challenges and things that it needs to do. But when you step back and you look at how third-party reporting is really helping the industry and it's helping fire service figure out what buildings they actually have information on, which ones they didn't, where the good owners are, where the bad owners are, and they're helping focus in on those places that need a little push to do the right thing so that we can save lives, it's not a bad thing. And what I hope to do in my time at CFC is kind of had some I'm not going to say standardization, but work with them to see what's important and how it can help the contractors, because it's a great benefit. There's no doubt about it. What the Bricers, when they came out, offering that service to the fire service industry was tremendous and very, very helpful. But nobody talked about, hey, Mr. Contractor, you got to pay for each, submission, and you got to pay for each resubmission and each system, and there's no standardization of that. And so that's one of the things I'm also trying to, kind of influence in some way to make it a little bit better, because it is a good thing, right? When we're able to go out and identify this building has, this sprinkler system and it has the fire alarm system, but it doesn't have a kitchen system or whatever the case is. Those are all good things that we can protect more lives. And if we look at it in that avenue, the other thing that I've seen is a lot of times when it's been embraced, your service department is generating a lot more revenue because of those deficiencies are being fixed because the AHJs are being notified of them and they're being forced to go, hey, we got to go clear that yellow tag. We got to clear that red tag. We got to clear that orange tag. Or if you're in Mobile, Alabama, you got to go clear the purple tag. Don't get me started on the purple tag.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that one makes me nuts. I had a conversation with the fire marshal down in Mobile, and I was talking to her. Okay, can you help me with this purple tag? What's it mean? What do we need to really do? We talked through, and I was like, okay, I just want to ask you a question. Why did you pick purple tag? It's like, oh, we just liked it. I said, did you see the tagging addendum in NFPA 25 that we worked on, that I personally worked on with Jason Webb and several others to put into the standard? Did you think about using that? Nah.
Do whatever we want.
We do whatever we
Yeah.
Welcome to
want with
Alabama.
the
Yeah.
AHJ. I love
Yeah,
it. That's
HJs are HJ. They're going to HJ. But yeah, those are
How
just the
would,
things that I'm trying to impact.
how would someone get in touch with you? I would imagine the next step is a, a client will get curious, and someone with a contracting company will get curious,
Yeah,
and then reach out for a like a
for,
discovery call. How can we
exactly.
get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you jump on my website. And again, I give kudos to my daughters for helping me get that thing set up. And actually, I got to give Scott McRitchie. Some of you guys might know Scott McRitchie from his Fire M and Uptick days. Scott McRitchie helped me get my website looking sharp. You guys see that logo down there? That CFC
Yeah,
Fire Consulting.
yep.
That's legit, right? This thing is legit.
it's
I
good.
Yeah, it
designed with
is.
my I designed this cheesy thing that I thought was all awesome. Scott and I had a conversation, and Scott and I have been friends for a long time. I get up the next morning to go work out. We got a gym upstairs. We live out in the country, and I open my phone. I got an email from Scott. He's like, "Hey man, I love the conversation. I love where you're headed. And, I was thinking of you last night. I made this for you. If you want to use it, great. If not, no worries." I opened the thing and I was like, "Oh my!" I was blown away. Right. So if anybody needs like some website marketing refresh things, go hit up my dude Scott McRitchie up in Denver. He's got skills.
That's
Well,
That
we'd
being
like to
awesome.
said,
have you back on. And I
Yeah,
would like to like maybe talk to you and have you back on in January, and then we can discuss a topic.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. What I like to do, and kind of I want to fall back just a minute about the association conversations. Again, I got more out of being a sponge there than I ever put in. But it's pretty cool to be able to be a part of that. And if you get involved in the AFSA and their TAC, or to get involved with their NFSA and their ENS and their ITM, you can get seats on the technical committees. You can get nominated to go and then participate and be at the table and be in the room to hear the conversations. Like I've missed maybe 3 or 4 total NFPA 25 meetings since 2012. I've put a bunch of PIs in that are actually in 25. I've put some that are in 13. Um,
well done.
thank you, thank you. But it's being engaged. It's being and those are open meetings, right? You can go and get so and get engaged in the associations. I can't press that enough. Is they want you to get involved, right? We were in a conference in Phoenix maybe 10 years ago, and there's this old coot from New York City. I won't name him, but he's one of the five. He's one of the founding five in Manhattan. And we were sitting in this room, and it's all these contractors, and we're having a conversation. And he stands up and he looks around. We're all a bunch of pale, male, and stale farts. We need to get some younger folks in here. We
Yeah.
need a little more diversity in here. And I was like, I looked around the room. Man, you're right. We need more Lainey Leotas. We need more Melissa Rodriguez. We need more Vicky Valentines. We need women in this industry. They can rock it. I mean, those three that I just named off, those are some awesome ladies. I'll put them up against anybody. Like they know more than me, but don't tell anybody.
You're
Um,
right. No, and you're right down the right path and promoting it, and that's what we've been talking about. And we didn't talk about being on an AFSA committee for very long until we were boom sitting at the table, sitting
Yeah.
at another committee, and it's just like you said. It's just ask about it, find the right person, boom, you're at the table, and you
You're
just
at the
gotta.
table, and then you know
It's
what really happens is when you go to those meetings and they're in person, the conversations around the table and we talk about should we take a concealed head cover plate off to inspect it, yes or no? The answer is no, my opinion. Uh, but then you go out on the breaks and you go out at lunch and you go out to dinner that night and you have the conversations one-on-one with manufacturers or other contractors or special interest folks. You get some Terry Victors or you get a Top Myers or any of those guys and a Carrie Bell and a Wes Baker. Like I can't tell you how awesome it is for me to know that I can reach out to Carrie and say, "Hey, Carrie, I was thinking about this. I was looking at this. What can you tell me?" And then Carrie, being Carrie Bell, Mr. UL over there, he just and he's so open with that information. All you got to do is go talk to him, go ask him questions, and they're all willing to help and answer. And you can only do that if you're there. Be there and get involved. I can't stress that enough.
I don't
I
think that you
agree.
finished telling people how to get a hold of you.
Oh, cfcfireconsulting.com or Jack at cfcfireconsulting.com. I'm on LinkedIn, um, and growing. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, ask me some questions, exactly reach out. We'll set up a discovery call, kind of talk about what you got going, and then we can work on some paid process there. I'm not expensive, I don't think. And I hope to bring some good value, but really all I truly want to do for these contractors is help them do what they want to do but protect their badge. Because in the sprinkler industry, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? And
Well
so
said.
many people are getting sued.
Oh, your daughter's here checking in. That's me. I'm the daughters.
What's up, little bit? It's probably a little bit and Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, Taylor. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. My
Hey,
so
Jack.
I'm not me without my family. My wife and daughters are on here, and the sport. And so Brian, you and I had talked about when we were in DC that you had your little ones. They're what motivates, right? Even though my kids are 28, 29
Absolutely.
years old, they motivate me to this day. They're super super supportive. They're helping me with the website. They ask me questions. They laugh. Like my wife's been in here giving me the gas. But she'll tell me, she'll listen to my calls. Like it's crazy is she'll listen to my calls, but then I'll listen to her calls, and we both think we're really good at what each other does because we get to hear the technical, this, that, or the other, and it's cool. But to have the family support, when you get the buy-in from the family, it just makes it that much easier. And again, shout out to you, Tyler and Taylor, for this backdrop. It's legit. Bobby was saying that having your name, out there on there was pretty cool. So maybe Bobby, get a hold of Tyler. She's got a little side gig there, man. She's got the cannabis
I
program.
I
What's
added
your
I
name?
added our names. I added Brian. I put our Instagram handles on the screen.
Nice, nice, nice.
That's it. Yeah, everybody's. It's an ever evolving industry that's full of opportunities, and I see for the most part, people are kind of nervous to take the opportunity, and I'm telling you, jump with both feet because no matter which section or sector or part of this industry you go to, it's all very rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. And the last thing I guess I'll kind of say is if a guy like me, I'm a small town kid from Los Alamos. I didn't go to college. I went to the Navy. I got some hands-on training. If I can do the things that I've done, I've sat on multiple NFPA technical committees. I've been part of the NICET Fire Protection Advisory Board. I've got a fire alarm planning license, superintendent license. I'm training for NFSA and AFSA. And that's just because of the passion and the people around me that supported me. To have mentors like Top Myers and Terry Victor and Jason Webb and Russ Levitt and those guys, Bob Caputo. Um, they we all want to put our arms around you younger folks and support you any way we can. And that's kind of why I was super excited. Yeah, I want to get my name out there. I want to get some
Yeah.
business going. I'd like to pay my bills. I ain't gonna lie, no BS
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I ain't gonna get rich on CFC, but I want to help other folks do the right things that they want to do and stop bleeding money that they don't need to.
yeah, man. That's awesome. You're a great talker. We appreciate your time, and we're definitely gonna have you on again. We'll be in touch probably sometime after the holidays.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
y'all, safe travels.
Out and we'll get a date and we'll get a subject. And since we already heard your story and everything, we'll get right into it.
Cool,
yeah,
man. Happy
don't
for
don't
you.
don't jump right off. Let me end this, and then we're gonna chat for a minute. Everybody is
Cool.
watching. Thank you for watching us. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps. We're small, but we're large because we're growing. We're the biggest on YouTube, right, Bry?
That's right. We are
You
now
know,
at let's see, 1,640 something
Whew,
subscribers. So
that's
that's an
big.
additional 40 in a month.
And so
Awesome.
that's a tough grow. Anybody who's trying to grow on YouTube, they know it's a very tough to get that subscription. And we appreciate everyone. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next Thursday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday was
Tuesday.
reliable.
Tuesday we're live.
reliable.
Oh, Thursday Flashpoint. We're gonna be going.
That's
Well,
right.
we'll be right before.
Flashpoint dinner. Yeah. And then we have the event.
Awesome. All right, everybody.